Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows on Current Affairs, and today we continue to take a comprehensive look, a follow-up look over the file of tourism. How far have tourism been booming after it has taken a leap almost 3 or 4 years, and we have seen a flourish or a boom on many circles, on many fronts, touristic fronts. I mean, on touristic sites, on conference tourism, a new type of tourism that have emerged, medical tourism, religious tourism, gastronomy, and other new types of tourism that have taken a leap lately. And of course, as we all know, that Egypt doesn't spare any effort. I mean, the Egyptian administration, when it comes to attracting different types of tourists. As we all know, that for each season, there is a different type of tourists that come over to Egypt. But what we're trying to do now is that we're trying to reflect a new Egypt that is suitable and could be fit for all seasons of the year. And today we talk about the tourism in general and about the museum tourism, the different new museums that are about to be inaugurated or on their way to be inaugurated here in Egypt, all over Egypt, not only in Cairo. Very delighted to be having with us here live in the studio Mr. Ahmed Badr, and he's an Egyptian tourism travel, he's a member of the Egyptian Tourism Travel Association and a tourism expert or a touristic expert. Good evening, Mr. Badr. And let's first talk about your association. You are a member of this Tourism Travel Association. People might get mixed up between the Egyptian Tourism Travel Association and the Egyptian Tourism Authority. If you would explain to us the difference in the identity of both sectors and the role of each.
Well, good evening to you and to all the audience. Thank you for having me with you. Well, both are completing each other. The Egyptian Tourism Authority is part of the Ministry of Tourism, and they are in charge of promoting tourism to Egypt mainly. So all the tourism offices or board abroad Egypt, I mean, if the tourism office in the US, this is part of the Egyptian Tourism Authority. The role is to, from the government side, is to enhance and promote the tourism to Egypt, while the Egyptian Tourism Chamber of
the Travel Tourism Association?
Yes. This is like all the travel companies in Egypt are gathered together. So this is the private authority, Egyptian Tourism Authority, as I would have to say, if I may say so.
It's a community or
it's a community of exactly all the travel agencies in Egypt. So they all get together to see what's the best for.
Is it like a syndicate? Is it like something
it is more or less
that would look into the problems, to root out the problems that are challenging the tourism course in Egypt, trying to sort it out? Is that true?
It is, yes. It's like a syndicate or a chamber of commerce. So it's the same. It's more or less the same. You know, all the people who are the experts in this field, they get together to see what's the challenges, how we can solve it, how we can move forward, how we can bring more business. It's the they are representing the tourism community in front of the government. So both sides are completing each other. So, and they always sit together and we always talk together and we always talk to the Ministry of Tourism and the government to see how we can benefit more from tourism, how we can get more tourism, how we can go over problems and troubles and obstacles. There always be an obstacle anywhere, somewhere, sometimes. So we talk to them officially through this syndicate or through this chamber.
Association
Exactly.
or chamber.
So for mutual interest and mutual benefits, because at the end, tourism is something that we all benefit from. It's an industry that is, you have almost 2 million people working directly in the tourism, and it drives 70 other industries serving tourism. So you have indirect people, indirect workers in tourism, I would say at least 14, 15 million other people. So, and the best thing about tourism is we have all the investment, we have all the infrastructure for it, we have the potential,
That's
we have
true.
everything.
Right.
It's ready, it's there, and it goes directly to the people.
1/3 of the world's monuments, I mean, we possess it over here.
In Luxor,
And
not
you have
Egypt.
also talked about indirect tourism. We're going to be touching over it later on the program. But let's talk about the strategies, the plans, the programs that are set, promotional programs, promotional campaigns, and all that are set to be able to attract that type of tourists at that time of the year. I mean, there are different types of tourists that come all over the seasons, the 4 seasons. So who is exactly responsible for this type of strategy? Is it the authority or is it the chamber?
It's the Ministry of Tourism with the Egyptian Tourism Authority. In association with the Egyptian Tourism Association side. We all work together. They've done great job in the past few months. Now they had an agreement with CNN, you know, the most famous news network in the world right now. So if you
signed a protocol, and we're going to touch on it later on, of course. But let's talk about the types of booming tourism, types of tourism that have started to emerge here in Egypt. There is cultural tourism. I mean, apart from the relics and the monuments and history and everything, there is other cultural tourism, like festivals, like conferences, like movie festivals, like book fairs, you name it. I mean, this type of tourism or events have emerged and it's booming, and different types of tourists, especially from the Gulf, are coming over, and from Europe at different particular times of the year. There is also the shores tourism and the diving tourism and the beaches tourism, which has been there for a long time. If you would start off with the cultural tourism, how important is it, and how has it evolved that way in the past 5 years to reach that extent that you could be identified? Cairo is identified as a spot for cultural tourism.
Well, I have to say Egypt's #1 tourism is culture. Culture, I mean people coming from all over the world to see our monuments. So from the pyramids and the museum, all the treasures of the ancient Egyptians, Romans, Greeks, Coptic, Islamic, everything. So this is culture tourism. So this is still our #1, and I would say it will still be our #1 for a long time, because this is something that people used to come to Egypt hundreds of years ago to see it, and it will continue that way for hundreds of years to come. But we have some other types of tourism. Like you said, conferences, either it's private or something related to the government, and all the the youth forum, International Youth Forum, which will be held in Sharm el-Sheikh in early December, next December. So this will attract people, young people from all over the world, and of course it gives it, you know, a good name, being under held by President Abdel Fattah Sisi. So this is one thing. The other thing is concerts. And we had some concerts in Egypt in the past few months, especially in the north coast, especially in New Alamein city, which I would say it will be one of the biggest tourism attractions in Egypt when it's finished, because it will be a city that is working all around the year. It's not.
We have read that in the papers, and we have heard about that in the media. But that is something that could be a genius strategy when you are thinking of transforming a coastal city into an all-year-round city that could have all facilities.
Well,
you could go to study in universities and schools and everything.
I have to tell you, we are a bit late, but late better than ever. Because on the other side, they have, the cities on the Mediterranean are working all around the year. It's only us.
How does that work?
It's even in, let's say, in Tunisia, they're working throughout the year. But here, we only work 2 months a year. That's it. And it's, for me, this is something I never understood.
Would it be a place suitable for Egyptians to live in, or foreigners like Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada?
Everybody, Egyptians, foreigners, people from Gulf.
So on other means,
there will be
there is going to be governmental facilities over there?
Everything. And there will be a huge amusement park, you know, something
like
world
Disney?
class, exactly. So this will definitely will attract people from all over, especially from Europe and especially from Gulf area, and of course Egyptians. So this is something that will work 365 years. They will have universities, they will have schools, they will have. It's a city, living city. If you go to Cannes, let's say in south of France, it works 365 days a year. And we have a better water. You know, the Mediterranean, our side is much better. I've been there and I saw. So this is something I'm waiting for this city, you know.
So we're going to follow that concept of Cannes?
Of course, yes, why not? And I hope, and I'm sure, this will not be the only city. I hope there will be other cities, so you have all the coastal part working 365 years. It's like Alexandria, having Alexandria 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Why not? And just create attractions. There are cities around the world that they have nothing, but they created attractions that people will fly for 12, 13 hours to go see these attractions. And at the end, it's, for me, it's okay, it's a great job, but there's nothing really to see. But people go and enjoy this nothing. So we have something, and people must come and enjoy this something. It's the same for the new capital. It will be an attraction.
Of course,
by
before we
itself.
touch on the new capital, since we're talking about Al Alamein and talking about that part and other parts that are some similar to Al Alamein, we also have the desert, and we have the oasis, and we have protectorates, and we have endangered species, and we have the habitat for some rare animals that Europeans come and admire and talk to us about preserving these species. Where do we find that in the map of the future tourism? Because we are really very rich in that type of desert animals and species that are the wild of the desert and everything like that. Any talks about investing on new protectorates, some habitat, I mean preserving those endangered species and showcasing them or talking about them for National Geographic and Animal Planet to be coming over and shoot there, or even people, Europeans especially, the British, the French, and or the European who are interested in preserving the environment, since you are rich on that front?
We are very rich on this side, yes, I agree. There are talks about this, especially the Western Desert. It's rich with unbelievable scenery. The White Desert, the Black Desert, Siwa, Valley of the Whales. People get crazy when they know they can go to desert and see a fossilized whales that are millions of years of age. It is. I've seen it myself, and it's a wow thing.
But in your own opinion, there are obstacles?
Well, for now, it's increasing. I think they just need to, they're working on, facilitating some services here and there, and, making things a little bit easier, and set rules and regulations
Enforcing
for
and
that.
strengthening the
Especially,
rules.
yeah, when it comes to wildlife sightseeing, as I may say so, wildlife sightseeing, which is another type of tourism. Nowadays we have so many different kinds of tourism. Culture is one of them. Beaches is one of them. Food tourism. People will fly.
Food is something else. It could
Yeah.
be an attraction.
We are
in its
very
own
known,
right.
and we are becoming very recognizable about this.
Of course, because our food is organic.
Exactly.
It's
it
not
is.
hormone injected. And,
So wildlife
you can buy
sightseeing
our
is,
food with millions of dollars out there.
Exactly.
What were you saying about the environment?
The environment, people will come, and nowadays they go, especially to Marsa Alam.
Of course.
It's becoming
And Ras Shaitan and...
Ras Shaitan, but mainly Marsa Alam. Marsa Alam is now it's easy access from Europe, so they fly 5-6 hours and they're there. The entire area is still, I would say, a virgin area. If you go there and you don't need to dive, you don't need to snorkel. You just stand on the beach or stand on the boat, and you see everything down there. You see the corals, you see the fishes, you see amazing colors and amazing
We as
life.
Egyptians, or even the world, have just started to notice and see those places only recently, like 2 years ago, with personal bloggers to showcasing or showing or posting their pictures. They are travelers, they are fond of traveling, and they post their pictures in Marsa Alam, in Wadi Hitan, or in Ras Shaitan, or Wadi Al Gimal, and other places that I don't really remember the name. I mean, but we know. What about the Ministry of Tourism? Shouldn't they have a role in that particular front? I mean, establishing even a page on Facebook or something that could be official, showing this to people so that they can think of coming over?
Well, actually, they have pages. Most or many of these bloggers, they came to Egypt by an invitation from the Egyptian Tourism Authority. Many of them came from an invitation from hotels, from cruises, from travel companies, to showcase Egypt and to showcase the product of each hotel or cruise or travel company. Part of it was the celebrities came in the past 3-4 years. You will never imagine how an impact from the picture of Will Smith did to us. Just Will Smith beside the Sphinx. It was like a boom. Oh, Egypt. Oh, Will Smith in Egypt. I want to go there. Now I'm sure it's safe now, because international media, until a while ago, they used to give.
They were waging hate campaigns against us.
Exactly.
But
so
we were talking about
someone like that here, so that will give the people out there the feeling that, okay, Will Smith in Egypt, so definitely it's safe. Definitely it's settled down. So let's go. Now it's time. So I agree with you 100%, especially about social media. Now it is a very important way of promotion and way of marketing. Each and every tourist come to Egypt, he is an ambassador to us.
Allow me to ask you a question. Why do we have to wait for the stereotyped classical way, old-fashioned way of promoting for our country, like waiting for Will Smith, Whoopi Goldberg, Sean Penn visiting Tahrir Square and all that, when a city, a very small city, tiny city in Mexico like Cancun, could be booming at spring holidays, and everybody in the United States hear about it. Even we in Egypt hear about it. Other places and beaches in Spain, in Italy, they cannot compare to 1/3 or half the quality that we have here on our beaches, and it's very popular. I I mean, they don't have celebrities coming. We haven't heard about anybody going to Cancun, but it's on the touristic map, it's booming. And they possess nothing. So why can't we borrow these very simple experiences and work with it here?
Well, one thing is media. This is number one.
Is it media or is it the
International
facilities?
media. Well, it's international media and whoever is moving them. You know, 2 years ago there was an explosion in a big city, in an airport city in one of the countries in Europe. And the headlines was explosion and at airport for 10 minutes, and then the dropped. If Ahmed Badr sneeze here, okay, Ahmed Badr snows, it's dangerous. He put out millions of germs in the air, so and it will still there for a week. So this is one thing. The other thing is people there, they all work in tourism and they know the importance of it, and they have skilled labor for it. Here we need that kind of skilled labor. We need people to know the role and they understand the importance of tourism. We need to have knowledge about tourism.
We need to have
let's say in Spain, all downtown Madrid or Barcelona, they're all hotels. You cannot find, very, very rare, you can find, you know, a living apartment or a company, or so it's a place for tourists. Even people, if they have like flats or an apartment, they will rent it to tourists. That's why they have 70 million tourists a year. Besides easy access, if you go to Spain, if you go to Europe, it's very easy access. This is something we need to do, and it's being done, you know, with all the roads that are being done, with all the new underground, with the new trains. You need to make the lives of people easy. So if I come to Egypt, I just because there are some people that they want to go and explore the countries by themselves. They don't want.
But then we have to have also to admit that we have something, an effort to be on our side also to spare, which is creating, I mean, coming up with innovative ideas, creating new campaigns, coming up with new facilities on the place. When you have a very simple place like Cancun, just a very simple beach, even the quality of the water is, or the sand or the seashore isn't half as much as in one of the worst beaches in Alexandria, but you can see millions of people coming over at springtime. They don't have to wait until summer, flowing to Cancun and the beaches on Mexico or Southern California. I mean, and it's very simple places, but they have very, very simple, tiny little ideas that would attract the tourism. And they have the tradition of trying to entertain the tourists in a different way. I mean, the locals inside the city.
They are. Well, it's you can find something like this in maybe in Sharm el-Sheikh or
exactly, only in Sharm el-Sheikh.
Only in Sharm el-Sheikh. And in Marsa Alam.
Right.
So, but I have to say, after 2011, after the revolution in January and all the things happened after that, we had a big break to tourism to Egypt. So in 2010 we had almost 14.5 million tourists. If things went normally, I would have to say we would have been at least 20 or 25 million, which is still less than we deserve. I think we deserve to be on the top 5 countries in the world in terms of numbers of tourists to Egypt, because there is a hotel in a city in the United States, and it's called Luxor. It attracts.
Taj Mahal, when they have the
no, Luxor hotel attracts 25 million tourists.
Donald Trump have built only a pyramid there, and it's just an imitation of our pyramid, And look
Even
at
in
the
front of the Louvre, they have a pyramid. So that's how important our civilization is to the rest of the world.
I was talking about Taj Mahal in Las Vegas, not the Taj Mahal that
The real
in
one.
India. But let's talk about, you were talking about the new administrative capital. This is a very huge, and a program in its own right, not a project. It's not. It couldn't be only a mega project. It's a program for an economic boom for Egypt. You have an every front for everything in that particular capital. There is a cultural city that is going to be included with the within the premises of the new administrative capital, and including is a museum. Talk to us about it.
Well, again, the new capital, for me, it's a must, because Cairo is, we're getting busier, we're getting more and more and more. So imagine Cairo without New Cairo and without 6th of October cities. So even now, it's getting busy. So definitely we need it. And even from an economical point of view, you went to a land that it was zero. Now you can sell it for millions of pounds. So now you turn the sand into gold. That's for real. So this capital will be an attraction by itself. You know, I know that all the administrations will move there by end of 2020. So
Governmental institutions.
Exactly.
But what about the museum that is going to be established inside the cultural capital?
Well,
I mean, tell us about the features of the cultural capital. Is it going to be, we are expecting to see a cultural city, a whole cultural city?
Yes.
Theater,
you'll have an opera house,
Mm.
Egyptian opera house. You'll have a big museum for Egyptian civilization. You will have theaters, you'll have movie theaters, anything that, libraries, anything that's related to culture, it will be there. And of course, part of it, we have to have a museum over there for the people who live in this new capital and for the visitors. Because definitely, at least the official visitors of this new capital, whoever comes to meet the president or any member of the cabinet, they can have a tour to this museum in the new capital if they don't have time to come to, you know, Cairo itself and see the other attractions. But definitely we will have to have a museum over there. Museum is part of the attractions to any city. That's why Abu Dhabi made the Abu Dhabi Louvre. It is an attraction now. People will fly
they have any monuments? They don't. We have plenty on our hands. Even every day there is an excavation. Every day there is a discovery.
Well, I'll tell you, if you go to Al Mu'azz Street only,
exactly,
just Mu'azz Street,
place.
you will have there monuments that are much more than some countries.
Even the spirit of Al Mu'azz Street.
Exactly, you can go there anytime, in the morning, in the evening.
Really,
I love it.
Very attractive.
It is.
Talk to us about the protocol with CNN. You've just pointed out to a protocol that was signed with CNN, or an agreement with CNN to promote for Egypt. I mean, Egypt doesn't really need promotion, as you say. It could be only with word of mouth we could be booming. But talk about to us about CNN thing.
Well, now if you open CNN at any time of the day, you will find in breaks a promotion, a small like pop-up about Egypt. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That will catch your eye. This is very important thing.
Was that an agreement with the Egyptian Tourism Authority?
Yes, and the Ministry of Tourism. So it needs to be quick and catches the eye. Now we have everybody's running. So They don't have time to sit and see a whole report for minutes. So just something quickly that will catch your eye. Oh wow, this is nice. I want to go there. So you'll start looking for Egypt and how to come here. And also during their travel programs, they do a very interesting reports about Egypt. I've seen like 3 or 4 of them. Very, very interesting things that personally I never knew about, like a new hiking passage in Hurghada that will take 10 days in the middle of the desert. The one we were talking about, seeing wildlife and seeing the
It's
real
like in
people
Nairobi,
living in this
a walk-in
area.
zoo?
No, it's just in the middle of the desert. You
Inside
go
the
and see
protectorate?
places, you go and
Okay.
see plants, you go and see
Rare plants?
tribes, yes, you go and see rare animals, you go over the mountains and down. It's 10 days journey. And the one who I believe did it was Amr Samra. He's an Egyptian adventurer, who the only Egyptian who went over Mount Everest. So he is an expert in this field. And other reports about the concerts in Egypt and how this type of tourism is attracting Egyptians and foreigners. And they had a whole report about a rapper, an American rapper who did a concert in New Alamein, I think beginning of August. I'm sorry, I really don't remember his name because I'm not a fan of rap music. But the singer was amazed about the Egyptians and how they met him, and he was amazed that almost 8,000 or 10,000 Egyptians attended the concert. He was like, "Oh wow, I never thought it
And
would
Jennifer
be that."
Lopez concert also, but unfortunately, we only have like 3 moments left. We need to talk about the current campaign under the name People to People. What
Yes.
is the story?
This is very important again. It's again, this is one type of tourism. It's called people seeing, not sightseeing.
People seeing.
People seeing, yes.
How's
You
that?
travel to see the people. Okay, I travel not to see the pyramid, not to see the temple, not to see Tour Eiffel, not to see the Louvre, but I want to go and sit with the locals. I want to see how they live. I want to interact with them. Of course, I would.
So you go midtown Cairo, downtown, and
Exactly. Go and
stay on a cafe.
local restaurants, stay in a cafe, go late at night, go in the morning.
It's an amazing idea.
The countryside. It is amazing. The movie itself is amazing. It's a 2 minutes movie that is focusing on the people, not the sights. The sights are the background, but the main focal is the people, the Egyptians. The smile. We are known for our smile. We are known for hospitality. We are known for meeting.
Gastronomy, our food.
Exactly, yes.
Very
Falafel.
delicious.
BBC just had a big report about Egyptian falafel, and it's the best in the world, and it's good for vegetarians and good for
And
vegans.
even if you go and taste it outside Egypt, it's
different.
not as the same, just like the Italian pizza.
It is, exactly. So things like that, this is what we need to focus on to bring more tourism. And again, we need to facilitate and have more tourism investments. And we need to invest more on having skilled labor on all tourism sectors. We need to tell people how tourism is important, how they know, but again, we need to tell them, we need to increase their knowledge about tourism.
And renovate ourselves.
Exactly.
On that very happy note, a very innovative and very thoughtful note, I'll have to end it here as we're running out of time. Mr. Ahmed Badr, you are a member of the Egyptian Tourism Travel Association, and you're also a tourism expert. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your kind invitation. And
My pleasure. Thanks
my
a
pleasure.
lot.
You're welcome.
Best of luck. And I guess this brings us to the end of this edition of Windows on Current Affairs. Until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.